Jets get completely demolished today. They lose to the Saints 29-6. I think going into today, Jets were 6.5-point underdogs. We, as Jet fans, have experienced games historically where the Jets find a way to win a game and hurt their overall opportunity to improve the franchise moving forward, because in spite of what some may think, winning any games right now is going to do absolutely nothing for the future. And, um, you know, people talk about culture wins. You're not getting culture wins in December when you're 3-11 or 3-12, when half the roster is not going to be part of the future, when it's clear that Aaron Glenn and Muji are coming back next year. It doesn't matter. The minute the Jets traded their two best defensive players, it was clear what the rest of the season was about, which was evaluation of the roster and really trying to secure a better draft position, and hope that the picks that you acquired, from Indy and Dallas also would improve your draft position. And those are looking better and better by the day. Dallas losing today as well. So, quick recap on the game. We were nervous. I was nervous going in, even though they were 6.5-point underdogs, and Tyler Shuck in New Orleans has been playing well. They've got a fair number of injuries, no real running game. And they were a 4-win team coming in. So, if you want to talk about a team that could be on the level with the Jets, it would be the Saints. However, they have a young quarterback who has a lot of potential. We're playing an undrafted rookie free agent. And even though I have very spirited debates online about whether Brady Cook is someone that can be counted on for the future or not, the reality is he's not, right? I mean, if we just look at his overall performance, he was 22 for 35, 188 yards passing. That's fine. He threw one pick. He took 8 sacks. Now, were all those sacks on him? No, but he doesn't know how to recognize a blitz. His pocket presence his pocket awareness is terrible. He wasn't picking up, pre-snap blitzes. Blitz protection was terrible. It's on the quarterback to actually make those calls. He's a good guy. It's a great story. Maybe he gets to hang around a roster as a potential QB2 in the future. I think right now he's a QB3 or practice squad player. And that's what we just have to acknowledge and not get too crazy about. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? Did the Jets play hard? They played hard. It wasn't about effort today. This is a team that's just completely undermanned, and talent. And talent on this roster is barren right now, right? I'm like, if you look at this team, how many of these guys do you want to be starters in the future when you're actually trying to become a playoff team? I mean, let's go through the roster. Offensively first, let's just talk about it, right? I mean, AD Mitchell, maybe he's a wide receiver 3 or 4. I think, maybe, we'll see. Your offensive line, yeah, you got your 2 bookend tackles. You feel good about Tittman. I think Myers, I know they re-signed him. I think he's really more of a backup. In ideal world, you would have a center, and he would be depth. I think John Simpson's playing himself out of any real opportunity to get extended. He continues to just take terrible penalties. I mean, it helps the cause from my perspective, but when you're taking, I mean, a veteran like him shouldn't be taking the penalties he takes, and it puts the team back. So for me, I'm giving AVT a prove it deal. I'm drafting a guard, maybe signing a center. Linderbaum obviously is someone that we would want, and I don't know if he's going to hit the market or not, but I think Tittman's proved himself to be a good guard. I think Myers is a below average to average center. He's fine at depth, but I think you need to sign AVT to a prove it deal. I think you need to draft a guard later in the draft this year, maybe make a few moves in free agency. But 3 out of your 5 offensive linemen you feel really good about, right? Those guys will be on this team long term. You don't have a starting quarterback. You don't have a backup quarterback. So, next year that's going to be interesting to see what they do. Wide receiver Garrett obviously comes back healthy. He's your wide receiver one. Mason Taylor and Jeremy Ruckert are going to be your tight ends one and two. Most likely, I doubt the Jets are going to bring somebody in who would be a tight end two over Ruckert. Is that perfect? No, but it's not the end of the world. I'd like to see them bring Brees back either on a franchise tag or a 2 or 3 year extension. Clearly, right now, when you have no real passing game, the defenses are keying on blitz run. They're stacking the box and they're blitzing, and so you can't really, you have no semblance of a passing game, which makes it much harder for Brees in the run game. We saw a couple of flashes of using him in the passing game today. I'd like to think that that's something they should do in the future. I want Brees back. Isaiah Davis is a nice, running back three. But you need multiple wide receivers. I think you need two. Um, I think you need, we talked about the line. Um, so I think, their offense is, it's so hard to really rate that offense when you don't have an NFL starting quarterback. On defense, my goodness, it's a complete rebuild and it won't be able to be done in one off season. So, again, looking at it, who's coming back that you want to play as a regular player? I mean, Briggs has been pretty good. Um, I think Phillips has been pretty good. I think Quincy's gone. I wouldn't bring Sherwood back, but that cap hit's going to be massive. So you're going to still see Sherwood on this team. Your secondary, I know everyone was talking about Brandon Stevens looking better. He's going to be here next year, but is he good? No, he's not. He's an average corner at best. He's not a top corner in this league. And you still have young guys who look like they might be decent players or developing, but we've got injuries all over the place. So, I think you probably have 5 or 6 new starters on defense and a lot of depth needs. And so, again, the results of the game, for those of us who are looking at the long haul here, it's what we wanted, right? To lose 29-6. Brady Cook is not a starting quarterback. The Jets D, they allowed 412 yards today. So, yeah, we moved on from Steve Wilkes, and there was some juice early on. I think I said they were only down 9-6 at half. But, if we're being honest, they got gashed, right? I mean, Tyler Shuck threw for 308 yards today with no real running game. He just threw the ball all over the yard. And, they stalled on a couple of drives in the first half, but, they still put up 29 points. So the change from Wilkes to Harris, I guess a couple of positives. We got one turnover. Taysom Hill playing the role of running back turned the ball over. We had a 4th down stop. So that was, I guess, a positive. But all in all, their defense just was getting gashed. I mean, you give up 400-plus yards to a team that has one wide receiver, a rookie quarterback, and no running game. So, I mean, put it in perspective. It's just a bad overall performance, right? So Jets fall to 3-12. We can do a quick Tankathon update. I think it's an important one. We had a couple of things happen today. If we just look at it here, I will show it to you guys now. The Giants are really bad, man. They lost again today. I thought they might have a chance to win that game, and they did. They were only down 3. They had the ball. Dart was terrible today. That was a bad game for the Giants. They fall to 2-13. They hold the number 1 slot. Raiders are playing this afternoon. Hope beyond hope that they find a way to beat the Texans. I can do a live quick check because right now it's 4:45 as I record this. And in that game, the Raider game, it is, if I quickly look, the Raiders are currently losing already 7-0 with 9 minutes to go in the first. So that one, not a surprise. I expect the Raiders to lose that game. Cleveland had a chance today. They lost 23-20 to the Bills. They had the ball down 3 with 2 minutes left. And they were the Browns. Shador took 2 sacks, including a grounding, and that game was basically over. So they lose 23-20. The thing about the Browns, that I think we should, we'll go through here in a minute, is I do think they actually can win a game still before the end of the season, and we'll talk about that. Just like I think the Raiders actually over the next 2 weeks have a chance to win a couple of games. Not going to win today, but like if you look at the next 2 weeks, it's interesting. Jets now move up to 4 thanks to Tennessee. Tennessee just demolished Kansas City, who really they're down to their third quarterback, who was awful. I don't even know who he is. um, and they look like they want to be anywhere but on the football field right now, which is a good thing because Kansas City has a direct impact on the Jets potentially here in the future. On top of that, right? So Tennessee falls to 5th. Arizona's playing as we speak, and they are winning 10-3. I'm not overly worried about the Cardinals because you would have to think the Jets would win a game before you worry about them, and they're not going to. And then you've got Washington, New Orleans. So really, right now, the battle for the number 1 seed is the Giants, the Raiders, the Browns, the Jets. That's what you're looking at. And so if we just look at what's coming up here, and I'll pull this for you guys. Before I go to week 17, right now, week 16, you've got the Steelers playing as we speak with a field goal lead. I think they're winning. Well, it's about to get tied. It's 3-0 right now, Steelers. Oh, nope, they just stopped them on 4th down. So the Steelers got the ball back because Dan Campbell doesn't like to kick field goals. So it's 3-0 Steelers late in the first quarter. If the Steelers win that game and New England wins tonight, and New England's playing at Baltimore, and I know nobody wants to root for the Patriots, and a lot of Jet fans don't want to root for the Steelers. Those 2 results happen. We go into week 17 where the Steelers will have a 2-game lead on Baltimore, and Baltimore plays on Saturday against Green Bay at Green Bay. And Green Bay needs to win that game, right? If Baltimore loses that game, the division is over. And Pittsburgh would be going into Cleveland on Sunday, playing Cleveland with absolutely nothing to play for. They would have clinched the division at that point. So that doesn't mean they're going to rest players, but I've said this earlier, and it could play itself out. Cleveland at home, a division game, still playing hard with a really good defense against the Steelers team who would have already clinched. I want that. You should all want that because we need Cleveland to find a way to win a game. Right? We also have next week the Raiders at home against the Giants. Every day of the week now, the Giants have put us in a position where you want the Raiders to win that football game. If the Raiders can find a way to win that game, then the Raiders would not have the number 1 spot. The Giants would be sitting number 1, and then the Giants would finish their season in week 18 at home against the Cowboys, who have nothing to play for. Now, does that mean there's a good chance the Raiders lose? I mean, if the Giants lose to the Raiders, there's actually a really good chance the Giants lose out and take the number 1 spot. But the Jets could finish with the number 2 spot if everything else that I said happens. So right now, I'll go into the rooting guide next week after this all plays itself out. But for this afternoon, root beyond any reasonable belief that there's a way and a will that the Raiders can pull off a miracle. They're not going to, but whatever. But root for the Patriots to beat Baltimore and root for the Steelers to beat the Lions. And then we may see something interesting happen. That to me is something that we should be paying attention to because it really does impact it impacts ultimately, I think, maybe less on who's playing next week because typically you're going to still play your starters in week 17. But the mindset, I want the Steelers to go into that game against the Browns with nothing to play for. I want the Browns to potentially pick off the Steelers. But, the Browns also will be playing, what's the Browns' schedule? Let's see. Who do they have left? The Browns play Pittsburgh at home, and then they're at Cincinnati, who just completely demolished Miami. Wrong on that pick. Anything can happen in a division game, but I don't want it to come down to that. I want to see Cleveland beat Pittsburgh. I think they could if Pittsburgh has nothing to play for. If Pittsburgh's got the division on the line, I'm taking the Steelers in that game. But if Pittsburgh has nothing to play for, why not? So anyway, that's the recap. Jets get killed 29-6. I watched Aaron Glenn's post presser. what's he going to say? The guys played hard. They made too many penalties. He's not going to destroy Brady Cook. There's to me, there's no world where Tyrod should start or Fields. So just keep playing Brady Cook the last 2 weeks of the season. We'll talk about it again early next week. I'll probably do a pod tomorrow after Glenn does his presser, and we'll look at the week ahead. Before the holiday, we have Christmas coming up, and we have some games on Christmas, but at the end of the day, the tank lives on. The path to number one still exists for the Jet fan who wants the number one pick. I do. The path to number 2 or 3 is actually really, really good, thanks to the injuries in Kansas City, and just Tennessee winning a game today is a big deal for the Jets. And so even if the Jets finish with the 3rd pick or the 2nd pick, and as long as the Raiders don't get the number 1 pick, and that's still the biggest risk here, I think the Jets have a real shot at moving up to the number 1 slot and picking their quarterback. And I know a lot of people want to argue about that. And when the season's over and we know exactly where the Jets finish, I'll probably do a show, a podcast, whatever you want to call this. I'll do an episode with a Jet fan who has an opposing view, who believes the Jets should not draft a quarterback or even think about moving up for a quarterback. And that might be an interesting and fun debate. And we'll also do other debates. I think there's going to be, once the season's over, debating the path forward is an interesting thing to do, because everyone's got their own perspective and view of what this team should do as they head into the next 2026 campaign. But man, Jets lose 29-6 today, 23-point blowout. What's going to happen against Buffalo and New England? They're going to get killed. Those double-digit point spreads probably can't get big enough. And whether you like it or not, it's going to have zero impact on Aaron Glenn and his stint here. I think he's guaranteed next year. But do I think he goes into the season, on a slightly warmer seat than he did going into this year? 100%. And I think the way the Jets play next year will have a direct impact on whether he gets a 3rd season. So good luck to all of us who are rooting for the number 1 pick. Go Steelers, go Patriots. I can't believe I'm saying it, but yes, those are the 2 things we want to have happen. And you know what? Good luck, Pete Carroll. Find a way to win a game. I'll talk to you guys. Have a good one.